All right, everybody, we are live. We are just barely getting started to talk about autism. If you're an autism parent, if you have autism, or if you are interested in learning about autism, you are in the right place. We are just barely getting started. We usually go live for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Uh, we get a couple hundred people in here, and so if you're just barely coming in, please be tapping on the screen. It gives some likes and it lets people know that we are here. It gets it out into the For You page. So we are just now getting started. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Come on in. We're talking about autism, and man, we have a lot to talk about today. How's everyone doing today? We're just barely getting started. I definitely have thoughts that we can talk about today. Hey, Amy. Yeah, good to see you. Thank you guys for hitting the likes. It gets it out to more people on the For You page. I know we're just getting started here. Yeah, wow. Where to even begin today? My son got hurt this morning, and I don't know if it's if you guys are autism parents, it just seems like constant injury to our kids. My son was climbing up on something and fell off and hit his cheek on the corner of a piece of furniture, and it bled and it's bruised. And it was 5 minutes before the bus was supposed to get here to pick him up, and we did all we could to calm him down, but had to send him off to school on the bus while he was still sad and injured and not knowing the full extent of his injury. So that's autism parent life for you guys. Amy, thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, be tapping that screen. Let people know that this is a real live. Tapping on the screen gives us likes and it gets it out to people. A little bit about myself and what we do. Hello, Aim. Good to see you. A little bit about what we do here is we go live every day to talk about autism. It's something I'm passionate about. I have 2 kids with autism. I have a 3.5-year-old and I have a almost 2-year-old daughter diagnosed with autism. I got 2 older kids that are neurotypical, a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. And my kids are everything to me, especially my kids with autism. I do everything for them. Aim, yes, I have guests on my live all the time. If people have questions, I bring them up. TGD says, I was diagnosed with it, but I don't even understand it myself. TGD, that's a good question. I wonder how old you were when you were diagnosed. Melissa says, how can you teach your kid to read? I'm struggling to teach mine. Melissa, that is a good question. A little bit about my background. I told you I got my 2 kids with autism. On top of that, I also am a board certified behavior analyst. I work with kids with autism for the past decade. I'm the CEO of a company that provides autism services throughout the state of Utah. I look like I could be related to Brendan Fraser. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay, so with reading, I have done this a lot, okay? I have taught kids to read, and I have found the best resource, okay? The best resource that I have ever found to teach someone to read is a book that you can get for pretty cheap on Amazon called 100 Easy Lessons to Teach Your Child to Read. Now, this book uses behavioral principles to teach reading. It also gives you the exact script that you need to give to your child to be able to help them learn and support them learning. And so I do have it linked in my Amazon bio, or my Amazon link in my bio. I don't really fully understand how the Amazon link thing works. I don't think I set it up right, but if you click on that link, you do see that book, and you can check it out. Hey, Aiden, good to see you. Aim says, all the adults self-diagnosing, I hate to say, but it's irritating me. Can you offer perspective? Aim, yes, I can. You obviously should never diagnose yourself. You cannot claim to be autistic if you don't have a formal diagnosis. Autism isn't something that you can identify as. It's a disability that you are diagnosed with. However, something that we do see a lot is, 15 years ago, the criteria to be diagnosed with autism was different. And so all these adults, they were little kids. They weren't getting the diagnosis because it didn't exist. And so we have a lot of people who are adults now that, if they were 2-3 years old, they would be getting the autism diagnosis. So I'm not. A lot of adults are getting the diagnosis, and it's helping them understand themselves. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a helpful thing. They need supports too. Autism and the struggles that come with it don't stop with adulthood. They continue and they can worsen sometimes. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great thing. It's a real thing. You just got to be careful not to diagnose yourself. All right, you guys, let me go ahead and exit out so you don't hear all my messages here coming in. Okay. It's all the online quizzes and then posting videos claiming to know autism. Yeah. I mean, online quizzes or screeners can be a helpful thing if it leads you to go and pursue an actual diagnosis. But you cannot claim to have autism until you go to that psychologist and get that diagnosis. Can face sensitivities be a sign? Okay, so sensory issues in general are a sign of autism, but they're a small portion of it. There are other signs of autism that you need to be aware of. Signs like not responding to your name, not pointing, not looking when you point, not showing the parent toys not because they need help with the toy, but because they want to share something exciting to them. And so, yeah, there are absolutely, sensory issues, but that alone isn't enough. Are you familiar with vagus nervous system? AJ, yes. So I have read into this. The vagus nerve stuff, there's some promising things, some interesting theory. Now, it takes it a step further. Here's where it comes down to is we notice a lot of kids with autism have anxiety, or their sensory input is heightened and putting them in fight or flight with mild or moderate sensory inputs. And so the idea here is, what if you could control the vagus nerve and, prevent the body from entering this heightened state? And, it's an interesting theory. The research behind it is limited and not very consistent. What I would definitely avoid is therapies that promote regulating the vagus nerve. You see some fringe chiropractors who say that they can regulate your vagus nerve through chiropractics, and that your autistic child is going to improve their autism symptoms through regular chiropractic visits. That's something that I would urge you to avoid. That is fringe. There's no evidence to say that actually benefits the child. All right. What do you know about Gestalt language processing? Rack, good question. So a lot of people with autism are Gestalt language processors. So they process language opposite. It's kind of the opposite way of learning. A baby, let's compare language development like Legos, okay? Typically a baby has a bunch of blocks, a lot of like words and stuff, and you hand them one block at a time. They learn one word at a time, and then they learn to put those words together to build something. They build a house, right, with the Legos. Their language is building up. Gestalt language processors are different because you give them a house already built out of Legos. They learn language by first learning an entire phrase. And then little by little, they break apart that phrase and each word gets meaning. And so they get the whole house of Legos and they take it apart one piece at a time. And so, yeah, a lot of kids with autism process language that way. Oh, that's a thing, but chiropractic care isn't. Joe Mama, I'm not sure what you're saying, but I'd love to learn more about your thoughts. Let's see. 5, age in ABA for 2 years. He recently is anxious drop off and down at pickup. Should he take break? Oh, yeah. Interesting. I would try to go and observe some sessions, to be honest with you. I'd go to the clinic and see what's going on there, to see what's leading to this. How long has it been going on? Have there been changes there? Be open and have that dialogue with the behavior analyst and yeah. Okay. Joe Mama says you don't care about any thoughts that aren't your own. Oh my goodness. Okay. We got some people that think they know all about me in the chat. That's fun. All right. KM says, thanks, Destiny. KM says, I'm diagnosed. Any tips in the workplace? Manage team of 15. Struggle fronting so much. KM, I do have advice. My biggest advice, if you are an adult with autism and you are in the workplace, my very first recommendation is when you are interviewing for a job, do not disclose that you are diagnosed with autism. Do not disclose it. They legally are not allowed to discriminate against you because of it, so why bring it up? Now, if you do bring it up, even though they can't discriminate against you, they will. They won't say it's because of the autism. They'll say it's because of your qualifications or something else. But if you say you have autism, what they're going to hear is that you're going to be difficult and they are not going to want to hire you. So my first recommendation is don't bring it up in the hiring process. My second recommendation is recognize that you have rights under ADA, that if you need reasonable accommodations at work, if you need more time to hit a deadline, if you need now it has to be reasonable. You can't, get paid to not work or something, but there are reasonable accommodations that you can get at work to perhaps increase some flexibility, increase some leniency here and there to make it so that you are able to be supported and just as successful as everyone else. Not to lower the standard, but to help support you up to the standard. So advocate, talk to HR after you are hired. All right. Why is tone so difficult with autism spectrum disorder? We do see that. We do see a lot of social deficits. One of those can be that you are not able to recognize sarcasm or tone as well as someone else. And I don't know the why, but I do know that is a common feature of autism. Maybe I need to look into that a little bit more. You guys, a little bit about myself as you are coming in, and if you're new here, I go live every day for a couple hours. Make sure you're following me. If you see the little follow button, that means you're not yet following. I go live every day, and we have honest conversations about autism. Despite what one person was claiming, I do care about other people's opinion. I do care about you guys, and I am extremely protective of autism parents and kids with autism. I think that the world is unfair to us. I think that kids with autism are beautiful. I am neuroaffirming. I'm also a BCBA with a master's degree in autism studies, and my whole life is to advocate and serve people with autism. I currently serve as a CEO, providing services to people with autism, and it makes me so happy every day to see people receiving good quality care. I do have YouTube going. Link is in my bio, and I prioritize any comment that is put into YouTube today. If you go over, you subscribe onto YouTube, and you make a comment on my live video, I promise I will read it out loud. The comments here at TikTok, they will get a little bit crazier. Usually we have over 200 people in here. I think we're still building up. And I don't always get to all the comments, but I promise over on YouTube, I will read every single one. So, and at some point we'll bring some people up who have questions. But for now, we're just going to be answering some questions right now. Let's see. Can a child diagnosed as level 2 with proper support move towards level 1? Alex, what a good question. Okay. In the chat, if you have a child with autism, what level were they diagnosed with? Put 1, 2, or 3 as the level, or none if they weren't given a level when they were diagnosed. I want to know, what level was your child diagnosed with when they were diagnosed? The reason I ask this is because I think all too often we create an identity for our child based on what level the psychologist gave us. Now, keep in mind, there is something, a lot of 3, a lot of 2, a lot of 1s, and I also see some that say none. Let me tell you about these levels. I am not a fan of the level system with diagnosing autism. I'm not a fan of it. Let me tell you why. I'm not a fan of it because it is purely up to the psychologist and their clinical judgment what level your child is. It has nothing to do with a standard metric. That it's not based on a test. It's not based on IQ. It is 100% up to the clinical judgment of the psychologist. One psychologist counts something as level 2 and another one will count it as level 3. The way it's designed is level 3 is meant to be high support needs, and level 1 is meant to be low support needs, and 2 is moderate. So first of all, it is subjective. Second of all, it's a snapshot in time. People with autism grow, they develop, their support needs change over time. And so absolutely their level changes. They're not held to a level while they are throughout their life. So if your child's level 2 and they were diagnosed 5 years ago, I hate to break it to you, but you have no idea what level your child is. And I don't think it's helpful to identify your child as a certain level. Now, I will say I'm kind of intrigued by an idea here. They're talking about changing the diagnosis again to add another diagnosis called profound autism. This would fall under the category of ASD, but be reserved for people who are over the age of 8, I believe, who still have no meaningful method of communication. And that is something that I would be very intrigued to, because I think at that point, I mean, that is an identifier. It's a clear metric, and it can be something that can be useful to be able to identify your child. All right, what other questions do we have over here? We don't have any over on YouTube yet. So again, if you ask your question on YouTube, I guarantee that I will read it. Let's go ahead and keep on reading our questions over here on TikTok. Oh, yeah. My brother is incontinent. Any potty training tips? Rack, let me just say, you are asking questions for your brother, and I think that is beautiful. Autism siblings are probably the most special human beings on the planet. They grow up having learned so much humility and acceptance and love for people who may be different than them. I've seen that in my own children, and it's apparent with you, with the questions that you're asking. I mean, what sibling goes and asks how to help toilet train their sibling child? It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for asking that. I would say, first of all, it is perfectly normal to be a little bit older when you have autism and not yet toilet trained. It's not going to impact them long term. When they start looking for jobs, no one's going to ask them how old they were when they got potty trained. The only people that care are usually the family members or the people judging the family members. And I just want to encourage you guys not to be critical. But when you start toilet training, here are some basic recommendations. Recommendation number 1, I want you to write down a clear plan. That's going to include a sitting schedule. So start with every 20 minutes, they're going to sit on the toilet for 2 minutes. And talk to your care team to firm up this plan and create the exact plan. What do you do when the kid has an accident? How often are they going to sit on the toilet? Make sure you're giving them lots of fluids, their favorite fluids, for a few days, and it's all hands on deck. But follow the plan, because then at ABA they have to do it, at school they have to do it, and so everyone has to be on the same page. All right, everybody, welcome in. We got our first question over here on YouTube. And again, to clarify, if you hop over on YouTube and you subscribe, I will read those questions guaranteed. I don't get to every single TikTok question. YouTube today, I will be getting to every single one. Let's see. Pays says, my son has lots of words, but gets frequently frustrated by not being able to communicate in sentences or in a way that people can understand. He starts to almost play a game of angry charades. Is he not able to access the words? Yeah. Have you looked into apraxia, Pays? Have you looked into apraxia? When it is clear that your child knows what to be saying, when it is clear that they know what the words are and they're trying to say it, but the words won't come, that's typically apraxia, which is an inability to coordinate the motor movements of the mouth and requires a different type of speech therapy. And so I do recommend speech therapy. I recommend looking into apraxia. Ask your speech therapist about apraxia. Maya says, over here on YouTube, we have another question on YouTube, you guys. Again, I am prioritizing questions on YouTube, but I will come back to TikTok when there's no questions. Maya says, I've been in autistic burnout for over 2 years. Diagnosed 1.5 years ago, but my family doesn't really believe it. I am high masking, and no, I ask around my family at home because I know they don't believe it. It's exhausting. Yeah, it's exhausting. Maya, I'm so sorry. One of the hardest things is when families don't accept a diagnosis, because you can feel so validated because you met that criteria for autism, and it explains a lot about yourself, and you align with that, and you need the support. And then to have your family not able to get behind you and understand where you're coming from is very hard. And they don't believe it, but I mean, you have the diagnosis in hand. It's not something that's debatable. And so what you need to know is that sometimes your family will come around, but also sometimes you need a village outside of your family too. People that understand you. And I tell you what, the people here on my lives, they understand. The autism parents and people with autism, we understand this. We recognize the challenges you're going through. We see you. Please be a part of this village. Come back and be a part of this. Pace says, I mentioned that to a speech therapist recently. She said that he needed a break from lack of progress. What? Oh my gosh. Okay, here's what bothers me is when people say, hey, look, my kid is not progressing. My kid is having a hard time. Like, I think this might be apraxia, or I think this might be this. What do you think? I think your kid needs a break because he's not doing well with therapy. I think he probably does need a break from that speech therapist, is what I'm going to say, Pais. He probably needs a break from that speech therapist and probably needs to be looking into another speech therapist that has more experience with apraxia. Miss Lupita says, my 4-year-old son just started ABA therapy. Is it an actual therapist coming to our home, or is it an employee of the ABA company? How do I ask this without being rude? Okay, let me explain the structure of applied behavior analysis therapy. So in ABA, the therapist is called a board certified behavior analyst. They're the one with a master's degree with thousands of hours of supervised experience under their belt. They've passed a rigorous certification exam, and they know their stuff. And I would love it to be able to say that person's going to be spending every hour with your kid up to 40 hours a week. That doesn't happen. Insurance will never want to pay for that, and it would make it so not very many kids could get therapy. So the model that they've decided to use is, instead of having the BCBA work with the kid, they hire like paraprofessionals. They're called RBTs, Registered Behavior Technicians. They work underneath the BCBA. And so the person coming to your house to work with your child on a daily basis is going to be the RBT, Registered Behavior Technician. And what really matters is the BCBA, the clinician, the therapist, has to supervise that RBT about 10% of the time that they're working. And so they are observing their training, but the direct work is happening from the RBT. Okay, we got more questions over on YouTube. We have a lot of people over there with a lot of questions coming up. But before I read those, let me give a little bit of an introduction. You guys, if you are just finding me today, can you put FYP in the chat? Can you put FYP in the chat? If you just found me on your For You page, I want to know who here is here for the first time. Who here just barely finding me? I want to know if you're new here. YouTube is linked in my bio. You guys, oh my goodness. Okay. So we have a lot of people who are just discovering me. Just know I am fairly new to TikTok. We are 2 months in now, and it has been my favorite thing ever. I think I have found my village. I have found people that I care about, people that I respect, and it's just been amazing. So if you see the follow button there, please hit follow so that you can find me next time if you're on the For You page. And let's go ahead and get back to the YouTube questions as people are going over there. Okay. She said it wasn't ethical to bill insurance. Yeah, if they're not progressing. But you know what? If they're not progressing, you need a different speech therapist. What is a big sign that someone is autistic if they're high masking it? Because I want to try to get myself diagnosed, but I'm afraid they only say that I am not autistic and I'm just imagining it. No need to be nervous about it. They know how to factor in the masking. They're really good. They're really good at ruling it out, because they also ask about how you're feeling. Like, is it easy to do these things, or is it a struggle? And whether or not they give you the diagnosis, I mean, you still can't say you're autistic until you have that diagnosis. Whether you go through that evaluation or not, you don't have autism until you have it written down. But they can rule it out. Don't you worry. Okay. Caro says, my daughter is now in gen ed and her grades have dropped. I don't see grades too important because I know her tremendous growth this year. She's talking full sentences. Would charter school be best? If she is in elementary school, don't stress the grades. Don't stress the grades. If she went from not communicating well to now talking in full sentences, she got straight A's. She got a 4.0. She did better. She got a 4.1, okay? She is speaking in full sentences. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's beautiful. That's amazing. That's what we want. Look, school is there to help your kid progress. And for us, special ed parents, it's progress doesn't always look the same as a neurotypical kid. And we can take those wins and we can be ecstatic about it and not worry too much about the grades. I do think public schools quite often have more supports for people with disabilities than many charter schools because of IDEA and FAPE and IEPs. The districts tend to have more resources to be able to accommodate, in my experience. Okay. Maya says, thank you. I personally don't know anyone else with autism. I'm starting occupational therapy on Monday to find ways to regulate my nervous system and find ways to unmask. I'm holding on to hope. Maya, wonderful, beautiful. Yes, well done trying to find therapy and help for yourself. Okay, Carol says her teacher has said, I'm not trained to deal with autistic kids, so I let her RSP teacher take over. Oh, you know what? Look, there are a lot of amazing teachers out there. Teachers don't get paid enough. Teachers are so amazing. And it breaks my heart when I hear teachers who do not want to take the extra step to learn just a little bit more about how to help people with autism. Okay, we have some more questions over on YouTube, you guys. This is what I'm prioritizing reading today, but as soon as there's no more questions here, I hop back over to TikTok. Keep the conversation going on both platforms, please. We are at 1,800 likes on TikTok. If you will go ahead and be tapping on that screen, and let's get us up to 10,000 pretty quick. I think we can get a lot more people up here. Usually we have about 200. I am live usually I go live at noon Eastern time, and I'm live a little bit early today. So please be patient. Let's get some more people in here and interacting, chatting, tapping on the screen, doing those little heart me's. If you're hit follow, and then it'll let you do the heart me. I think it costs like a penny or something, but it really does boost it out to more people. So, okay, let's keep on going with these questions. What are some red flags that we should look out for in the RBT? Okay, Miss Lupita, something you need to know about ABA therapy is because of the model with RBTs. You are getting 18-year-olds that have barely any experience working with people with disabilities. They're not going to be the experts. And so I'd say it's less about finding the red flags in the RBT. Really, the only major red flag is if the RBT is unwilling to learn, or if they don't love your child. I mean, in an RBT, that's all that they need. If they are willing to learn, and if they love your child and can show compassion and care for your child, then they're going to do great. What really matters is, what does it look like when the BCBA trains the RBT? Because the RBT is going to quit. 6 months are going to go by, and then you're going to be getting a new RBT. And so just recognize the RBTs turn over. We love them. We hope they stay as long as we can. But just based on the model of ABA, the RBTs are going to leave. So what matters more is, how does the BCBA, who tends to stick around a lot longer, actually train the RBT? What does it look like? If they're just doing remote supervision and all the training the RBT ever gets is remote, that's not high quality. I would have concerns. That would be a red flag. Okay, over on YouTube, we have some more questions. Grady says, my son is almost 3, level 2. We are in ABA therapy and have found he is a seeker. Also nonverbal. He hand leads and communicates by pushing our hand to what snacks he wants, or opens the drawer himself and grabs his food and brings it to us. We are longing to hear his voice. What can we expect on if he will ever speak? He rarely says mama and baba for bottle. Thank you. I really appreciate all the information, and you really do bring light and awareness. So thank you. Grady, What a good question. I think that is a question all us autism parents want to know is what does the future entail for a child? Am I ever going to hear him talk? Am I ever going to have a meaningful conversation with my child? Um, your son's not even 3 years old yet, Grady, and you have done everything for your child. So the first thing I'm going to say is, however your child ends up, I want you sleeping good at night knowing that you have given your child every possible support that he needs. You didn't go chase all the fringe sciences. You just went with the basics that we know works over time, and you are doing it. You are amazing. So sleep well at night knowing that. Now, to answer your question, we do know some things that if you start early intervention and do high quality ABA and other therapies before the age of 3 and continue on, about 95% of those kids who are nonverbal end up communicating in full sentences. Now, that doesn't mean that that's going to be your child, but what it does mean is it should give you hope. 3 is so young. It's so young. And if you're doing all these therapies, you're giving him the best possible chance. All right, everybody. We are already over 2,000 likes. I think we can get to 10,000 pretty quick if everyone just taps on the screen. If everyone just taps, 10 to 20 times, we'll get there pretty quick. So please go ahead and do that. Let's keep on answering some questions, you guys. I'm reading on both TikTok and YouTube. As I'm still trying to build up a following on YouTube, go over there and subscribe, and then you can ask questions over there. So we do have some people over there. I have a question from Miss Lupita. Says, a moment of vulnerability on my end. I have 3 crazy boys. My house is always a mess. I try my hardest to keep it clean and pick up messes, but it's so hard. At what point should I worry about the RBT reporting us to the state? Thank you for being vulnerable. The clean house has caused real struggles in my home. It is impossible to keep a clean house. And when I say that, like, as I'm cleaning, my kids with autism are following behind me, making it even more dirty than before I started cleaning. Like, I am in a constant state of cleaning. But the other day, my 7-year-old came up to me. He's neurotypical, and he said, Dad, I think I need a chore chart. And I said, okay, why? Are you looking for some allowance? And he said, no, I'm just so sick of stepping on everything all over our floor. And I'm like, okay, buddy. Okay, yes, you can help with things, but that's on us. And I mean, ours isn't bad. Like, we're not worried about being reported to the state or anything because, I mean, we do before bedtime, we make sure everything is put away. But your question is real. What is the RBT's obligation at reporting to the state? They are mandated reporters. If there are signs of abuse or neglect within your home, they will have to report to CPS, and that it won't be anything against you. Companies also stop doing ABA if it feels like it's dangerous for the RBT to be present. And so I guess it depends what level you're talking about. If you have some toys around, if you have, you haven't vacuumed in a few days, that's one thing. But if you have, hoarding level status and, feces all over the ground and stuff like that, that's when CPS usually gets called. All right. Let's see. Ryan says, my daughter is going speech therapy, but it's not making any difference. We were thinking of going private, but we're also thinking she might just start when she's ready, or when you advise, or what would you advise? Ryan, that's a good question. The problem with speech therapy is typically it's an hour a week. And so people aren't going to learn to communicate with just an hour of speech therapy. Most speech therapy, part of it is structured as teaching you as the parent to do the therapy, which doesn't end up happening all the time. And so, so speech therapy has its limitations, but they're incredible experts. And so I would ask, are you doing anything else in conjunction with speech therapy? I think ABA therapy and OT complement speech therapy really well. You can do speech therapy and ABA, and the ABA, the RBTs can apply a lot of the things that the speech therapy is working on, and it makes so the speech therapy is even more powerful when they do it. And so I would just say, what other therapies are you doing, and recommend that you do others. And then, yeah, the speech therapy alone though, like is limited in how much time they can work with your child. Some insurances only allow like 20 visits across a year from a speech therapist, which is not sufficient. Okay, let's keep on reading some of these questions. James over on YouTube says, "Hi there, just Gestalt language processor, 5-year-old son, can say lots of words, ask for food, etc. Progressing slowly, but happy to have seen progression at all. Can we expect full two-way communication?" We don't know. We don't know. I mean, it is an incredible sign. I would also ask, what current therapies are you doing? Are you doing ABA therapy? Are you doing speech therapy? What supports is he getting at school? It's not always a yes or no thing. It's like, in what context is there two-way communication? My son has just started having some conversations, but those are only things that are specifically trained. We can ask him a question and he can say a one-word answer to about 8 different questions now. About every week there's a new question he can answer. He can say, what's his name? What's your last name? What's your mom's name? What's your dad's name? What's your birthday? That one's the cutest. He can answer, what color is your hair? What color are your eyes? And he can answer each one of those. And about a month ago, he had never answered a question before in his entire life. And so he is progressing. And I wouldn't call that fully conversational, because you can't then apply that same question to another context. Like, you can't say, what's your name? And then point at someone else and say, what's her name? He doesn't answer that. He's very much... He has the cue, and he can respond to the cue. But your kid's going to grow. Your kid's going to progress. What I can't say right now is where your kid is right now at 5 years old is not where he's going to be when he's 10. And the therapies and the support you're giving him now is what's going to impact that. Savannah says, it took 6 years for us to get a diagnosis. I just wanted to share some wins. He had his first play date. We finally found an amazing pediatrician. We got an amazing special ed lawyer for free. Wow. Okay. 6 years to get a diagnosis. If you are on a wait list right now to get your child a diagnosis, put wait list in the chat. I want to know who's on a wait list right now to get your child seen for a diagnosis. Put wait list in the chat. There are way too many people who are waiting for years to get a diagnosis. It's unacceptable. It really is unacceptable. And so I really do. I really do. I see some people here saying, my recommendation to people is look at 5-hour range from your house and call every single psychologist you can find to see how you can get in sooner. But Savannah, thank you for sharing your wins. That's great. Miss Lupita says, I'm worried about that. I need help. It's just toys and food that my son throws sometimes. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and answering my questions. Yeah, absolutely. James says, appreciate the honesty and thanks for answering. Sounds the same. Yeah. Yeah. Your child's going to progress. I'm so optimistic about it. But again, our goal as parents is not to make our kids normal. I want to make sure we're all on the same page with this. The purpose of us parenting our children, if they have autism, is not to make them as normal as possible. It is to help them be happy and access as much reinforcement as possible. It is to help them become the best versions of themselves, not have them become the best version that we imagine for them. And that's a hard difference to be aware of. Okay. Savannah says it wasn't the wait list bar insurance. Yeah, that makes sense. No one is normal. Yeah, I agree. All right, you guys, we are back over here on TikTok. I'm going to be answering some questions. Partner talks to himself and uses hand gestures. He also stims. Is this autism? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There. It could be. Some of those are signs of autism. Stimming is absolutely a sign of autism. Using hand gestures is not necessarily a sign unless he's doing it as a stim. But really, I'd be cautious about telling someone that you think they have autism. I don't think it's typically received well. Kel says, how hard is it to become a BCBA? Well, it's hard. It is hard. You have to have a master's degree, and then you have to have about 2,000 hours of supervised practicum experience, supervised by another BCBA. Then you have to take a certification exam that has about a 50% pass rate. So it is hard, but if you go into it, put everything into it, you can do it. So we need more BCBAs out there for sure. All right, we are still answering questions over here on TikTok. Let's see. It would be easier to be an RBT. Oh, for sure. An RBT, you just have to have a high school diploma. You have to have pass a background check and go through about 40 hours of training. So GD, any master's degree? No, it has to be from an approved coursework. You have to go through the approved coursework from the board. And there's a lot of degrees that meet that. If you have a different master's degree, you don't have to get a second master's degree. You can go through a coursework sequence that is about half the amount of classes, but still meets those requirements. So M says, I just got my first job as an RBT. Welcome to the field, M. That's a wonderful job. I have a bachelor's in business, so college may be out of question. Why? Why? You can have an undergrad in business and then go on and get a master's degree in ABA. You could do that. All right, everybody. Let's see here. We have YouTube going on. If I've missed any of your questions, you can go on over to YouTube and ask them over there. We are just barely getting started on this live. We have a lot more to do. Mom Skeeter says, my son is having a hard time toileting, almost 6. Are there therapies that can help? There are absolutely therapies that can help. First of all, if your child's 6 and not yet toilet trained, you are not failing. You are doing okay. Toilet training is so hard. You are not failing. But I know you're tired. I know you're sick of changing those diapers. But to really do the toilet training, it's an all hands on deck kind of a situation. When I recommend to people to start toilet training, we go all in. It is not something that we start passively. It's on occasion, let's sit on the toilet. No, it is we're throwing out the diapers. He's only in underwear. We have a protocol written down for when he has an accident. We have a sitting schedule for when he sits on the toilet. We have ways to make the bathroom fun. Maybe we make it so the only time he gets screen time is in the bathroom while he's sitting on the toilet. And we do everything we can. We give him as much fluids as possible. Let him have unlimited access to juice or soda or whatever it is that your child loves that's going to make him pee a lot. You do all that you can all at once. And you write down all of these interventions and make sure that you and your spouse, your ABA, your school, everyone is doing it the same way. And within a matter of a few days, your kid's going to be toilet trained. It's hard. It's a lot of work, and it's okay if you wait to do that. You are not failing your kid, but you can do it. Okay. All right, let's keep looking here. We have some more comments over here on YouTube. Again, we are prioritizing comments on YouTube. If you have a comment that I have ignored, just know I'm not trying to ignore it. We just have a lot of people who need to, who are commenting on YouTube that I'm going over to respond to. Miss Lupita says, I'm curious, in your opinion, why are so many people against ABA therapy? It has evolved so much. Why don't families like it? There are a couple reasons for this. And I think you addressed this, that in your statement that it's evolved so much. But there are very real experiences of people, adults with autism, who feel like who have PTSD from their autism experiences or from their ABA experience that they had. Because ABA therapy in the past focused on compliance and masking. Look, I went to school for this. I took my first course in applied behavior analysis in 2011. And do you know how they taught back then? They taught that like, oh yeah, here's how you get rid of stimming. Here's how you make it so your kid doesn't flap their hands like a weirdo anymore. instead of the neuroaffirming approach today of like, look, this person is regulating. They're happy. They don't need to be any different. The world needs to be different. Their environment needs to learn to treat them better. We're going to advocate to normalize doing things that make you feel good and comfortable and regulated. And so ABA therapy has come a long way in that sense, that no proper clinician anymore addresses stimming alone unless there is health and safety issues with that stimming. Compliance is another one. I heard someone say one time that their BCBA, their behavior analyst, was addressing that you are not allowed to say no to an adult. And that was the biggest red flag I've ever heard with ABA. Telling someone that they can't say no to an adult? How dangerous could that be? And so, like, there are things like that. The overfocus on compliance and then masking. And if you have an ABA provider focused on those two things, you need to talk to them. That's not what ABA is. ABA is an incredible science that through it is an evidence-based way to learn skills such as communication, behavior reduction, replacement behavior, so that you don't have to engage in problem behavior. And so that's why people, like, it's valid. It's valid why people have concerns about ABA. And if you do ABA, you should be aware of some of that history and make sure that your BCBA and that your goals, you should know what goals you're working on. And you should be able to make sure that those are valid goals for your child. All right. Hello, my son is 13 months and I think he's autistic. Cindy, thank you for joining YouTube and sharing that with us. I think it is a wonderful thing when parents of kids that are just a year are starting to see signs of autism. Not necessarily great for you that I'm not like excited about autism in that sense. I'm excited that we have parents who are becoming aware and who aren't waiting for their kid to be 5 because they're scared of the stigma of having a child with autism. I've been there. I did not expect to be an autism parent. I was a BCBA a long time before I became an autism parent. And I saw kids with autism and I saw parents of kids with autism, and I never thought that it would be me that would be on the other side of this. Okay, we have another comment over here. On YouTube, Jenny says, any tips on an autistic teen struggling with school refusal? Oh, yeah. Task refusal, such as school refusal, can be common with autism. Now, my first recommendation that I always give to everybody is, I'm not your child's clinician. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me, you guys. I can't give you all of the input that you need, but I definitely have some thoughts on this. If you have a kid who's refusing school, refusing to do tasks, I want you to consider PDA, pathological demand avoidance. If you have not heard of PDA, if you have not heard about PDA, put PDA in the chat. Put PDA in the chat if you have never heard or are unsure of what PDA is. Let's see if there's anyone in here that is not yet aware of PDA. So PDA, a lot of people actually. Let me go through this a little bit. PDA is pathological demand avoidance. And what PDA looks like is it's a profile of autism, not yet recognized in the United States, but it is recognized in the UK, and it's gaining familiarity in the United States. It's not its own diagnosis. It's a profile within the autism that falls underneath the autism spectrum disorder. Yeah, not public display of affection. Thank you, Nut Nectar. Not public displays of affection. PDA is pathological demand avoidance, and what it refers to is the subtype of autism when the nervous system is extremely sensitive to any demands placed on that person. It is essentially an example of this is your kid doesn't have a problem going and cleaning their room, But if you ask them to go clean their room, you might as well have asked them to go and put their hand on a hot stove. This isn't just like not wanting to do it or being defiant. This is like the moment you ask them to do something, they have a physiological reaction to that demand placed on them. Their anxiety goes through the roof. They go into fight or flight, and there is nothing you can do that's going to lead them to do that. And so a lot of the approach with that, traditional parenting is like, oh no, you make them do it and you make them do it. Unfortunately, what that does is that causes an increased level of anxiety and stress and trauma. And that's not the correct approach with PDA. And so PDA, the better approach is to increase people's individuality and their ability to advocate for themselves, teach them how to say no appropriately, help them, if your kid doesn't want to go to school and it's telling them that it's time to go to school that bothers them, then have them set their own alarm on their phone to tell them when it's time to get ready for school so you don't have to tell them. You can also modify how you work with people with PDA. Instead of saying it's time to go to school, you can say, hey, we got to be going to school. We could go now or we could go in about 5 minutes. Do you have a preference? And that way it puts control in them. A lot of times people with PDA, they really want autonomy. They want to be in control, and allowing them to have that control is a good thing. And so forced choice like that is a powerful way of being able to do that. All right, everybody. Let's go ahead and keep answering some questions. We have Cindy over here saying he barely responds to his name. He doesn't point, looks at things and not me. The joint attention thing. Yeah. Okay. Yes. The joint attention thing is fascinating. Okay. People think that, well, my kid, I can make my kid laugh. I can play with him and he looks at me while I'm playing with him. That's not joint attention. That's not the concern with autism. If you are fully engaged and you're tickling your baby, yeah, they're probably going to be looking at you. What joint attention is referring to is a different level of attention. It is introducing a third item here. It is not just you and the baby, but suddenly the baby has a toy and the baby wants to share the interest of the toy with the parent. Or the baby hears a scary dog barking. Does your baby go and look at you for comfort? And a lot of kids with autism, they don't. It's just them and the object, or them and you, but this like triangle doesn't exist. And that is what joint attention is referring to. Jessica says, your live's been so helpful. Oh, I appreciate that, Jessica. Thank you. I appreciate that. He makes eye contact and like diaper changes after bath time or when I sing. Yes, that's very common, especially with kids with autism. But the joint attention, Cindy, I recommend, have you done the MCHAT, MCHAT? It is an assessment for kids, for young children and babies to determine how likely their risk is, how strong their risk is for autism, and it catches about 95% of cases of autism. I recommend you look at that. You can get an autism diagnosis as early as 12 months, but most places don't do it until 18 months. If you're seeing signs at 13, 14 months old, it may take you 6 months to get off the wait list to get an evaluation. So if he scores high on that MCHAT, you go and you schedule yourself an evaluation. You get some answers. It's not too early. Your child's not too young. Okay. Can PDA also be in ADHD in non-autistic children? So typically, there's a similarity, like oppositional defiance disorder. It's a little bit different, but the way that it's written out in the UK diagnosis is it's a profile under autism. And so now I'm not discounting that kids with ADHD can't experience something similar, but that's how that phrasing specifically works, PDA. Edith says, our school district has tried to send our son to the severe program due to his behavior. At every IEP meeting, I say, due to lack of supports for my son, we will try again next year. You got to advocate for your kid during IEPs. I'm curious, are you not wanting your child in the severe program? Severe sounds bad, But what severe means is more support. Typically, severe refers to one-on-one support in the classroom. And what that means is better ability to focus on progress. My kid is in the severe program, and he is in no way severe. He's never hurt anybody on purpose. I mean, he's only 3.5 years old, and severe just referred to like he gets a one-on-one staff who's trained in ABA that gets to work with him. So I just be cautious also not to avoid the severe just because of the name. If they get better support there, I mean, who cares what it's called? Okay, Cindy says he doesn't look at me. He will hear the sound and just cuddle to me. With toys, he looks at them but not at me. Cindy, yeah. Yeah, Cindy, you're explaining a lot of signs of autism. Does he have unusual interest in like lights or his hand? Does he look at his hand? Does he stare at lights? That's another common thing. Does he respond to his name? Edith says he will totally regress. Oh, I'm curious your thoughts on what would lead to regressing in a severe classroom. And I just want to make sure that you feel that based on what you've seen in your child and not your perception of like putting him in a severe class is accepting that he is severe, because that's not what that means at all. As long as it's like, hey, look, he's been in that setting and having a one-on-one person was harmful somehow, or being around kids like that triggered him or something, I could see that. Is there some kind of autism that is severe, says Sakura here on TikTok? Yes. So level 3 refers to high support needs. It's not severe in the sense of like he has more autism or he has less autism. It's severe in the sense of this person with autism has more support needs than this other person with autism. Okay. Again, as questions come in on YouTube, I do prioritize those questions. Make sure that if it says follow right here on TikTok, make sure you hit that. I go live every day for about 2 hours. And you can, if you follow, it's easier to find me next time. Also on YouTube, since I'm fairly new there, just barely getting some followers over there, go on over to YouTube and you can ask me questions over there. Cindy says lights. He loves lights. Okay, yes, that's another sign of autism, is loving the lights. So I'm hearing a lot of signs. Is he responding to his name, Cindy? Does he respond when you say his name? Do you ever have concerns like, oh, is he not hearing me? Is he deaf? Does he have hearing problems? Has that thought ever crossed your mind? Edith said the teachers there have said all children in class are nonverbal. My son is GLP and has advanced so much. Oh, so you just don't feel like he fits he's not similar to the other kids there. Look, I think sometimes we care too much about who is in our kid's class. Don't worry about the other kids. I would be asking, what does the support look like for my kid? What's going to change? If you want him in that class, why and what is the support going to change? Is it just going to make it easier for you, or is it going to actually make him progress? My son's severe class, they get a one-on-one person who is trained in ABA. They are better trained and qualified than an RBT, each of the aides that are in there. They are incredible. I am so grateful that my son is in a severe class, even though he's communicating. He's in that severe class, and he is getting the highest trained support, and I am so glad that he's in it. And so just be looking at like, what are the actual supports? Don't worry about the other kids there. Worry about what supports does my kid need, and what's going to help my child progress the most. All right, some other questions here. Let's see. He used to wave around 9 to 11 months old, then he stopped. I'm told that he might just be late developer and those things will come in a little later, and to wait till 18 months. Yeah, you can wait, but there's also no harm in starting the process now to be evaluated. People wait and wait and wait. Here's the thing. If you wait till 18 months, that means you're not getting a diagnosis till after 24, most likely, based on wait list times. And so if you want to wait till 18 months, you can. But I wouldn't wait much more than that, and I would probably be trying to schedule it now with someone so that in 3 months, 4 months, when he's 18 months, you can get the evaluation. Again, that's how my daughter was. She was waving at, under the age of 1, and then at around 14 months, there was a regression. She stopped responding to her name, not waving. Let's see. Over here on YouTube, we have more comments coming in. Boo says, I'm autistic myself, and it's hard to know if my daughter is copying my behaviors or if she is also autistic. She's 2 years old. Okay, yeah. So you could see imitation of stimming, but there's some things with autism that you don't imitate. Like that joint attention is a big deal. Like, how about pointing? Let me ask you this, Boo. If you pointed at something, is your 2-year-old going to look at where you're pointing? Does your daughter point? Does she respond to her name? Those are things that wouldn't necessarily be something that they imitate. Yes, the repetitive behaviors could, but there's a lot with autism that they wouldn't be imitating. Yeah, Boo. We are not the best judges of our own kids. We can't always tell if our kids have autism, and that's why it's helpful to go and get an evaluation. Cindy says he doesn't respond to me, but he does to everyone else most times. It's annoying. Okay, see, that's another sign of autism because he can hear, but he's selectively, choosing or, depending on the environment, he is choosing what in the environment to interact with, and his name isn't always coming to the forefront of the importance there. Edith says he has a behavior intervention plan and he already has a one-on-one. Okay, Edith. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like they're wanting him in there more for convenience then. Oh my goodness, and I got a paper crane? Holy cow, and confetti. Aya, you're going crazy. I don't usually get gifts, but it means the world. Holy cow. Thank you. That was cool. Okay, Mom Skeeter says, I'm confusing what you can ask for with IEP. Oh my gosh, and hand hearts. Aya, you are going crazy with these gifts. I appreciate it. Mom Skeeter says, I'm confusing what you can ask for with IEP. Are there resources a parent can use to be prepped for IEP meetings? We are adding bathroom reminders, but didn't know we could have been doing this. Yes, so there's a lot that you can do. The thing with an IEP, there's so much information, and if you are not sure where to start, you can be reading things online. You can also, each state should have what was that? Aya, oh my gosh, you are going real crazy today. That is amazing. Thank you for the pirate's treasure. All right. There's a lot that I could say, Mom Skeeter, but the big thing is each state has a resource location that you are usually they receive federal funds to be parent resources. In Utah, it's called the Utah Parent Center, and they can send advocates with you to the IEP and talk to you about it. And so the best thing I can say is you need a care team. On that care team should be your ABA therapist, the BCBA, occupational therapist, pediatrician, all those people, and just consult with them. Ask your BCBA, what accommodations do you think my child could do well with at school? Or the pediatrician, and just ask the other professionals who also know your child. And then look into getting an advocate. Boo says no, she refuses engagement like that, ignores her name, but she's hyperverbal and can read, and I'm told that's abnormal. Okay. Yeah, so some people with autism, guys, some people with autism are hyperverbal. They're hyperlexic, okay? Some people with autism learn to read at a very young age. And learn their numbers and alphabet and can do incredible things despite some other challenges that they have. And so that is fairly common, Boo. All right, you guys, let's continue on here. Victoria says, do you have any tips on how to get my little one to respond to name and learn to follow instructions? It's a long process. To answer that question, I'm going to go a different direction. I think most of you autism parents are doing too much. I think you are on the verge of burnout and you know it. I think that you are fighting every day to give your child more, and it's depleting your own cup. When I talk about the autism journey for parents, I really, really emphasize the very first step, which is to build your village. You need people around you so that you can take a day off, so that you can go and spend the night in a hotel and let someone else take care of your kids for a night. Let me ask you this. How many days, how many months, how many years potentially has it been since you went 24 hours without being with your autistic child? How long has it been since you went 24 hours without taking care of your autistic child? Put it in the chat. How long has it been? The scientist says 11 years. AS says never. Tammy, thank you for the bouquet. That's so kind. 5 years. IS says never. Kel says when my last boy was born. You got a break in the hospital room. Tracy says 16 years. Lexi says Sunday. There we go. There we go. That's what I like to hear. Bhavanthi says 9 years since her birth. Christina says 5.5 years. 17 years from Molly. Boo says I've never went an hour without my child. Mom Skeeter says almost 6 years. Guys, you're burning out. Your child needs you for decades. And I need everyone to think of how they can find a way to make something like this happen. How can you find a way to have a getaway for a day? There's a nonprofit that I actually sponsor personally and I donate to that puts on retreats for autism moms where they go and they just have a good time. They get makeovers. They go horseback riding. They go do ropes courses for a few days while they leave their child at home and find someone to take care of their child. And I mean, that is something I support 100% because autism moms don't get breaks. Edith says, I stepped away from my nursing career to be there for our son. Biscotti, so it's in Utah. If anyone wants info about it, it's called Espero Retreats, ESPERO. They're a nonprofit for autism moms. The retreats are in Utah, and they're completely free. Sponsors like me donate to the nonprofit to make it an awesome activity for parents. Espero Retreat. You got it, Lexi. I mean, it's just an autism mom that created it, and I got in touch with her, and I love it. I'll bring her on sometime. I'll bring her on, and she can talk about it, and maybe coordinate with you if you guys want to create something like it in your area and you want to run it. There's more needs for that. But here's the thing: what I told someone that my wife was going on that retreat. Okay, my wife went, and they looked really confused with me, and they're like, so she just like takes the kids with her so that she can watch them there? I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, I mean, like, what happens to the kids? How can she go? And I'm like, I'm a dad. They're my kids. I can take care of them for a few days. Like the default was like, there was no way that a mom could ever leave the child. It was like it was such a foreign concept that the dad, the husband, could take care of the kids for a few days. Look, if you are married, okay, if you are married, you need to talk to your spouse about you getting away for a day. Not because you don't love your family or your kids, but because you love them so much that you recognize you need to take care of yourself. Kels, yes, you have a business degree, business idea. I love it. Do it. Yeah. Yes. All right, you guys. You don't talk to your partner. You just say you'll melt, make them. You can help babysit them. Yeah, I mean, it's us dads, we don't babysit our kids. We just take care of them. Like we should be able to take care of our kids with autism, and it should not all be on the autism moms. And even if you are a single mom, but there's still the kids' fathers are around, like you should still coordinate something if possible. And then if not, now it's time to start building your village to eventually give yourself that. Because look, I need you there with your kid for decades. Okay, I need you there for decades. All right, guys, back to the questions that we are getting away from on YouTube. I don't know if I read this one. Edith says, I stepped away from my nursing career to be there for our son. Yeah, I mean, you don't have, it's not just that you don't take breaks, but it's that you gave up a lot to be there for your child. All right, you guys. Let's go ahead and bring some people up. If you want to come up, if you have questions, feel free to request up. We have Lucan, who's in the guest box. Let's see what we can do for Lucan. See if Lucan is there. All right, Lucan did not join, so we are going to go ahead and bring up the next guest. Request in if you have any questions.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi,
Aya, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning to you. Are you an autism parent?
Yes, I am. And things are going okay.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I have one child, he's 11. He was in a very small private school since he was a baby.
Yeah.
And I recently took him out at 10 years old due to the school expanding. So the classes went from 8 students to 20.
Whoa.
And his symptoms, yeah, really started showing up. We went through the public school system right now. We're in it right now. And it's been a mess. We did in person and now we're doing on the computer. Neither in person or on the computer is working. His anxiety is getting worse.
How old is he?
He's 11.
He's 11. When was he diagnosed with autism?
Um, in like around kindergarten, first grade.
Okay.
He was very verbal, very, very smart. He struggled kind of like with motor skills, social skills. Um, and Basically, the private school was really beneficial for him because he had the same teacher for years, small classrooms. So I'm thinking, I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if
Yeah.
this is going to be a weird question. How do you feel about homeschooling?
Yeah.
Like, like doing his own system. Like, what we're struggling with is the whole being on time, logging in at 8 o'clock, doing this, and I feel like that's what is messing with him now.
Yeah. Yeah. So to clarify, did I miss this? He's doing like it's a school, but it's online. Is that what he's doing right now?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of hard to meet all those deadlines. I think he's already getting all the uh so I don't think homeschooling would be much different than what he's already
Yeah.
doing. I mean, I is he it sounds like he's fully conversational, right? His communication is good.
For the most part, yes. He has he has gone a little bit backwards this past year due to all the anxiety. But for the most part, he does well.
What state are you in?
I'm in New Mexico.
Okay. In New Mexico, do you know if there's any resources for homeschooling parents? If you opt to do homeschooling, do you get a stipend to be able to like buy curriculum or something?
I am not sure. I Our state is pretty poor, but I am looking into it.
Okay. Yeah,
Do you want
so
me to
in
go
Utah,
online?
the way that works, you get like a few $1,000s if you're in Utah, you decide to homeschool that you can spend on like curriculum and stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
I think instead of having online public school, I would choose a curriculum that you can do at your own leisure. Now, what some people do is they say, I'm not going to homeschool, I'm going to do ABA instead. And then they learn pretty quick that ABA insurance does not pay for you to work on homeschooling stuff in ABA. And so that's
Yeah.
not like a life hack that is feasible. But what you can do, if you're noticing like, hey, look, the online stuff's not a big deal. He can learn a lot. He's doing well. But it's just the pressures that are on him and they're too rigid and we can't be flexible. Then yeah, pick a different curriculum. And I'm sure there's even free resources out there. And check out if
Yeah.
your state has scholarship programs or anything for homeschooling kids. And I think that's a totally acceptable thing for you to do.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Like I found your live. It's very, 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 very beneficial.
Well, I appreciate you,
And
and I appreciate the gifts you sent me earlier. You're
you,
amazing.
you're very welcome. My last question is during homeschool, can I can we basically just kind of do our own thing? I think kind of as long as he's meeting this what he has to learn for his age level, we can do our own schedule or his own, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more flexible, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because you can accommodate what his needs are, but it's also bad because what that turns into a lot of the time is they don't do anything. And so if you're going to do
Yeah.
homeschool and not end up educating your kid, I would say don't do it. It's better to just find what supports can make him successful. But if like it, homeschooling can end up being more work for you, and so that's why I recommend like instead of being the teacher, just get a good curriculum that he can be doing on his own. Does he work pretty well independently if it's on his own terms?
If if there's no pressure, yes.
Yeah.
I have personally spent over like $20,000 since he was little on doing things for him, like to help him academically. Like I have,
Wow.
if you walk into my house, it's a whole like it's already like a homeschool
Oh my
because
gosh.
yes, because I've been doing a lot of work with him since he was a baby. And that's how I got him to be verbal and I got him to be being able to say hello to people and and things like that.
You've created an amazing environment for him.
Yes. And but we just hit like a rough patch and I'm trying to get my kid centered again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of anxiety for him, a lot of anxiety for me, and I feel bad that he's going through all of that. And I'm just trying to I'm trying to, just get him back, to his baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I appreciate everybody's tips on the comments. I'm reading them. Everybody's is really great over here.
I love it. You know what? You're a good example to people, and I think you have a good idea here. You know what's best for your kid, and you already have the environment that's appropriate for him. And if you
Yes.
can lessen some of the flexibility aspect of it, another option is to talk to the school and be like, hey, look, he has autism. We need a increased flexibility. You need some
Yeah.
accommodations here, and that's also another alternative.
Yeah. Like I said, our state is really poor. And
Yeah.
sometimes even if you communicate, the teachers, there's just so much, there's not enough teachers and there's so much pressure on them that they're not able to even, they'll try, they're doing their best, but they're not able to, give him what he needs. If do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I understand. Okay. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for coming up. And I hope I get to see you more in the lives. I mean, keep us
Sure.
posted what
I
you decide to
appreciate it.
do and how homeschooling goes for you if you decided to go that route.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll talk
I'll
to you
be in the
later.
comments. Thank
All right, you guys. Thank you for being here today. A little bit of an introduction. We still have some time going on, you guys. If you are interested in autism, you are in the right place. If you're an autism parent, if you have autism, or if you just want to learn about autism. Now, during the day, it's a little bit more of a support group. We do have a Facebook group that you can go join. It's linked in my bio. We also have a Discord chat if you prefer. Both are growing. Both are active daily of posts and support. It's for people with kids with autism or people who have autism. and who just want support, not advertisements. Now at night, some nights I go live, and if I do, I get a little bit more confrontational and address some more controversial things. Things like vaccines and autism, about how vaccines do not cause autism. And I bring people up to discuss those controversial subjects in very passionate and not passionate, very compassionate and kind way, not a yelling debate. Also things like warning families against detox and other dangerous fringe science without evidence. And so those are other things that we talk about. But the purpose of this live is a very generic. You can ask questions. We can provide support. If you're having a hard time, we'll have a hard time with you because we are part of your village. User says, thoughts on ABA? ABA is amazing. You should do ABA. Now, it might not be for everyone. If your kid doesn't have a whole lot of high support needs, if they're fully conversational, if they already have a lot of skills, they've learned a lot, they've grown a lot, you probably don't need ABA. Mental health therapy might be a good addition instead. But ABA is a wonderful therapy. All right. Till how old? Well, until they no longer are in need of the supports based on the clinical judgment of the people there. Usually it's 2 or 3 years that you do ABA, and kids can catch up and maximize how much they learn. So insurance doesn't like paying for it ongoing, for sure. And so you have to be seeing progress in multiple goals. And if you stop seeing the progress, it's time to age out of ABA. So, all right, everybody. So a little bit about my background. I try to do this every 20 minutes. Sorry if it's repetitive for those regular listeners, but it's important that people know who I am so that they can stick around when they join. I am a board-certified behavior analyst. I'm a parent of 2 children with autism, and I am the CEO of a company that provides autism services throughout Utah. That's why I can't go live all day. How fun would that be if I could go out live 8 hours a day? This is for sure my favorite part of my day, talking to you guys, being a support to you, and being supported by you guys. If you look right here, it should say follow. If you have not followed yet, I do go live every day. And so hit that follow if you see it say follow right there. If you don't, and it just says that you can give me a heart me, do that as well, because it gets it out to more people. We want as many people to come and be part of this village as we can. We have some more comments over on YouTube. I do have a YouTube stream going, and I've told people today I am prioritizing those YouTube comments. If you comment over on the YouTube side, I will read your comment out loud and address it. On TikTok, if I don't have any comments over on YouTube, I'll answer the questions over on TikTok. Thank you guys for being here. We already have 18,000 likes. Go ahead and keep on tapping the screen. Edith says, environment plays a big role in behaviors. What is your take on reducing school day to do ABA? Edith, I think it depends on your kid and what supports they can get at school. For mine, my kid has ABA at school that the school pays for. And it doesn't count towards our health insurance ABA. And so if you're getting that kind of support, there's no need to take them out of school. But if you ask me, would I rather my kid be in a classroom with 15 kids with only 2 teachers at school all day, or would I rather them be with a one-on-one aide who can help them learn their individual skills? I will go ABA with a one-on-one person every day. Every day. The more support, the better. And then school, then you have to have a transition back to school. And so if your kid doesn't need the intensive services, keep them in school, because if you do ABA, then you got to slowly integrate them back into school later. So it can be a really good option for people. Okay, let's go ahead and someone asked me a specific prescription. I can't respond to that. You got to consult with your doctor on that one for sure. All right, what other questions do we have here? Sad the little support kids get when they go into college with autism. Nicole, absolutely. Autism doesn't stop when you start school. It doesn't stop when you get into college. Autism is lifelong and needs support lifelong. Good morning, Bad. Good to see you. Let's see here. Be true. Do not do that. What did be true say to do? I don't know. Okay. I'm glad I'm not alone. It's a little weird to me, but he's 5. Yeah. I'm not sure. Missed out on some of that conversation. Let's go ahead and bring some more people up. Let's see if we have people in the guest box. Uh, we got Lexi on here. We'll bring Lexi up. And then we'll probably end up bringing another couple people up. Hello, Lexi. How are you?
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. What's new with your stuff?
Well, there's a lot of new stuff.
How
My
did
son
school go?
started the new school. Good. Yesterday he only went for like an hour because there was OT and ABA, and we had to meet with our state provider uh for the services that he gets and stuff like that. So it was a busy day yesterday.
Yeah.
But today it was easier, it was lighter. He got out of the car. I walked him into the school. I said goodbye to him, and he even gave me a kiss.
Oh
So
my
I'm really happy
gosh.
because he usually doesn't give me kisses.
So he was excited. He's been excited to go to the
Yeah,
school. Oh my gosh.
yes.
That's everything. That's so
When
good.
I went to his old school to drop off his brother, he was like, "You're not dropping me off here, right?" And I was like, "No." And then I was like, "You're going to the purple school because that's your school." And he was like, "Yeah, I don't like the school." So he's still like in his mind is obsessing about the fact that he did not like the school that he was going to prior. So
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, should we bring up some more people? Get a couple more questions in?
yeah, I actually have a question for you about
Oh
PDA.
yeah, let's hear it. We'll see if I have the answer.
Because so here's the thing. My son decides that he wants to tell me that he hates me.
Yeah.
When I send him to do a particular task or something that his non-preferred task is what they call it in ABA. Would that be considered also like a part of PDA, or is that just something that he's like doing because I don't know.
I have definitely seen that be part of PDA. I that is pretty common that you ask someone to do something and the kid like turns and has a very strong emotional reaction and says words that obviously they don't mean or intend to do harm, but in the moment they are in a very heightened state. And so, but it that alone might not be it. But if you're seeing a pattern of any time he's asked to do something or anything like that, you can tell that his body's going into fight or flight. That's the time to kind of start talking to people to see if that's a diagnosis and that or a profile that you should consider, um, because it can impact how the ABA responds. ABA should be informed on PDA. It can
Yeah,
change how they
because
do the
he
intervention.
sometimes screams like at me and says it. I know I remind myself that he doesn't hate me and that he's my child and that he loves me, so for my own peace of mind. But like he'll look at me and he'll scream at me and say like things like "I hate you," da, 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 and then he'll go off on like a rampage, which then at that point I know that he's overstimulated because his tone of voice changes and then the speed at which he talks changes and then he stops making sense and he
Yeah.
starts stuttering,
Yeah. Part
which
of
he has
that.
a stutter, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind that all young kids have reactions like this, even if they're neurotypical. And what we're looking for is a pattern of behavior, and common trends that kind of go beyond what's developmentally appropriate. But yeah, I don't know. The escape maintain behaviors are tough. Does ABA have good insight into it? Have you talked to them about it at all?
I haven't talked to them about it because I've been watching it. After listening to your lives and listening to people talk about these kinds of things and stuff like that, I'm learning. I'm definitely not a professional. But I do listen to what people say, and I do like kind of take into consideration, oh, well, maybe I was thinking about this wrong. Let me kind of start like tracking it. So I've been starting to track it so that I can bring it up at my next 2-week meeting with ABA to see if they're seeing the same thing there.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's okay, and eventually he'll calm down after a few minutes or so.
Yeah.
Sometimes it leads to those aggressive behaviors that we know he has.
What's
And
hard is
so
the difference between PDA and simple escape maintain behaviors is like uh, it's really hard to differentiate because there are kids that have learned that whether it's in your home or someone else's home or a different setting, that when they act that way, we cave and give them what they want. I have totally done that. And if they have a history of even very rarely that like that type of response leads to us changing our mind about the outcome, that can lead to an ongoing problem of engaging in that kind of behavior. And what we're looking for with PDA is more of like even if it's a brand new task that we've never asked them to do, and it's just by default, anytime that it's us asking him to do it, it's painful, but him doing it himself and initiating doing it, it isn't a big deal. That's kind of where PDA gets separated.
okay. Yeah, I'll bring it up to the ABA because, like, for example, when I used to make him brush his teeth, like I'd have to force him to brush his teeth. And once I stopped pressuring him so much, I noticed that he's starting to brush his teeth means getting the toothbrush and putting the toothpaste on there. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean actually brushing his teeth, but at least he's starting to show some initiative. What he'll do is he'll get the toothbrush and he'll put the toothpaste on there, and then he'll rinse it off and he'll say that he brushed his teeth. Um, but at least he's trying.
Yes.
But I did
Yes.
take the pressure off of him of telling him to brush his teeth, kind of made it a routine thing that I do in the morning. So he watches me do it, and then he's at least somewhat attempting. But before it was like a fight, like literally pinning him down to get his teeth brushed until I just couldn't do it anymore because he's too big.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um. That's rough. How old is he again?
He just turned 7 on
Oh my
February
gosh.
14th.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Mm.
7-year-old. I also have a 7-year-old. All right. Well, you guys, I am looking at things, and I actually have a meeting here in just a few minutes. I went live a little bit earlier today to account for that, but I just want to touch on a few things first. Uh, I wanted you to all be aware of what this village is. This is a positive vibes only village. We have a Facebook group where autism parents are allowed to go. It's a place where people don't try to sell you stuff. They don't try to market to you. It is just us autism parents that are there in the Facebook group. And then we also have a Discord chat. The link is in our bio. I also have been going live at night. If you want to see a little bit different side of me, where we talk to people who disagree with us about vaccines and autism. I'm curious here, is there anyone in here who currently thinks that vaccines caused their child's autism? Put yes in the chat if you think that the vaccines had something to do with your child's autism. If this is something that's interesting to you, that's something that we tend to talk about in the night lives in the evenings. And it's something that I feel pretty passionately about because I think it harms autism parents and the autism community to talk like that. So thank you guys for being on here. If you see the follow button there, please tap follow because that means that you do not yet follow me and you won't be updated when I go live again. So I appreciate you guys. Sorry for going a little earlier today. It probably caught a lot of you guys off guard, but it was still an amazing live. I appreciate all of the support. And I'll see you guys either later tonight or tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Thank you guys.